It sounds impossible. Jews who supported Hitler. But in the early 1930s, as the Nazis rose to power, there were small groups of German Jews who genuinely believed they could appease the new regime, earn its respect, and survive by proving that they were loyal, patriotic Germans. Their story is not one of betrayal, but of fear, denial, and wishful thinking. And it's a warning we may still need to hear today. To understand how this happened, you have to understand who German Jews were before 1933. They were among the most assimilated and patriotic Jewish communities in the world. They fought for Germany in World War I. They wrote German poetry, composed German music, taught German philosophy, and contributed to every field of German life. Many saw themselves as Germans first and Jews second. So when Hitler came to power, the instinct of many Jews was not panic, it was disbelief. They thought, Germany is a modern society. Things like this don't happen here. Yes, Hitler says extreme things, but once he's governing, he'll soften, he'll calm down. He can't really mean all of this. And this was where the first cracks of denial appeared. As the Nazi movement tightened its grip, a small but vocal group of Jews stepped forward with a radical idea. Maybe the solution was not to oppose the Nazis, but to convince them that Jews could be good Germans too. One of the most famous groups was the Association of German National Jews, led by Dr. Max Norman. Norman argued that Jews should fully assimilate, abandon Zionism, and embrace German nationalism. He wrote that the goal of his organisation was, quote, the complete assimilation of Jews into the German nation. He believed that if German Jews distanced themselves from Eastern European Jews, whom many Germans viewed with suspicion, perhaps the Nazis would tolerate them. A second group, the German Vanguard, led by Hans Joachim Schoeps, was even more bizarre. It was a small circle of young conservative Jewish men who admired aspects of Prussian militarism. They insisted that a Jewish place could be carved out inside Hitler's new Germany, if only they demonstrated enough loyalty and cultural alignment. And beyond these groups, a few Jewish-run newspapers initially tried to reassure their readers. Hitler was just using harsh rhetoric to win votes. He wouldn't actually carry out his threats. Germany was too civilized, too rational, too modern for that. In other words, denial became a strategy. Why did they think this would work? For one simple reason. They believed anti-Semitism was a social attitude, not an ideology. They thought that if Jews proved they were good citizens, loyal, patriotic, assimilated, the hatred would calm down. And they thought Hitler was exaggerating for effect, not announcing a program he fully intended to carry out. But the Nazis were not playing a political game. Their anti-Semitism was racial, ideological, total. They didn't care whether a Jew loved Germany or hated Germany, served in the army or didn't, was religious or secular, Zionist or anti-Zionist. To the Nazi worldview, all Jews were the same. There was no such thing as a good Jew. In 1935, this became unmistakably clear. The Nuremberg laws stripped every Jew of citizenship, banned them from professions, and defined Judaism as a race, not a religion. Overnight, all distinctions vanished. The patriotic German Jew who fought for Germany, the Jewish professor of literature, the Jewish shopkeeper, and the Jewish refugee from Poland were treated identically. And the groups that had tried to appease Hitler were banned. Their leaders were arrested or fled the country. Their belief that Jews could talk their way out of danger collapsed. None of their efforts brought them safety. None of their loyalty mattered. The Nazis didn't differentiate between Jews who supported them and Jews who opposed them. They didn't differentiate between Jews who begged to be accepted and Jews who proudly asserted their identity. Their hatred was absolute. And this is where the lesson of this story lives. These Jews weren't evil, and they weren't stupid. They were scared. They thought, like many threatened minorities throughout history, that if they just adjusted enough, apologized enough, aligned themselves with the dominant ideology enough, they could avoid destruction. They thought the problem was misunderstanding, not ideology. They thought the answer to hatred was to show their best side rather than confront the reality of what they were facing. And this mindset, the mindset that says if I just distance myself from other Jews, if I criticize the right Jews, if I blend in, the hatred won't touch me. It's still alive today. You see it when Jews downplay threats and say these extremists don't really mean it. You see it when Jews think that anti-Semitism is caused by Israel, or by religious Jews, or by political Jews. Anyone except the anti-Semites themselves. You see it when Jews believe that if they just disassociate themselves loudly enough from other Jews, the mob won't come for them. You see it among Jews who think that appeasing people who despise them will make these people despise them less. The Jews of 1933 tried that. They tried every version of it, and it failed every single time. Because the people who hated them weren't reacting to Jewish behaviour, they were reacting to Jewish existence. This doesn't mean every threat today is identical to 1933, or that all anti-Semitism leads to genocide. Not at all. I think a lot of anti-Semitism is shallow today, not deeply ideological, and can be dealt with. But the psychological pattern from Jews, the refusal to take hatred seriously, the belief that extremists are bluffing, the hope that loyalty will purchase safety, is a pattern that we've seen before, and history teaches us something brutally simple. When people tell you who they are, believe them. When a movement announces its hatred, take it seriously. When someone says they want to destroy you, don't assume they're exaggerating. The Jews who tried to support Hitler weren't traitors. They were desperate people trying to survive by denying reality. Their story isn't about shame, it's about warning. And the warning is this: you cannot appease people who hate you. And no amount of self-blame, self-hatred, or self-distancing will ever change the mind of an anti-Semite. The Jews who tried to make peace with Hitler discovered this too late. We don't have to. But because we have the political and social freedoms today that the Jews of Germany in the 1930s didn't, we don't just have to stand up to the hatred, but we can also shine our Jewish light in the positive sense and reclaim our Jewish identity loudly and proudly, more so than we've done in the past. That is actually what can really change the tide more than ever before. If you just hold on for a moment, there's something big I wanted to flag with you. We talk a lot about the forces lined up against Israel today, but there's one power, one massively influential player that almost never gets spoken about openly. A state that smiles at the West while quietly empowering Israel's enemies. It's a story that's been hiding in plain sight until now. Have a watch of the trailer for our new JTV Plus documentary called Qatar, the Great Deceiver, and you can watch it in full now by clicking the link below in the video description. Qatar, a gleaming nation on the Arabian Peninsula. All glass towers and gold-plated excess, where the super rich jet in for the art fairs and World Cups, where Western universities open campuses and diplomats toast to partnership. But look closer at the glittering mirage, and the shimmer reveals something sinister. For 2 decades, this tiny state has been executing the greatest con in modern geopolitics, convincing the world it's a bridge between civilizations, while secretly bankrolling the arsonists on both sides. The name Qatar should make Western leaders shudder. Instead, they shake hands with its emirs, park fighter jets on its soil, and call it an ally. On October 7, 2023, the mask slipped, as 1,200 souls were slaughtered in Israel in a symphony of savagery orchestrated by Hamas. The world saw where the terrorist leaders live, not in tunnels beneath Gaza, but in luxury villas in Doha, under Qatar's protection. And as the bodies were being counted, Qatar's leaders didn't condemn the massacre, they called for restraint. This is the untold story of the Gulf's master deceiver, how a nation smaller than Connecticut is playing the West for fools. As you are watching this, billions are flowing from Doha into extremist networks, while Western elites cash Qatari checks and sing its praises. In this JTV Plus documentary, we follow the money, we expose the double game, and we ask the question that should haunt every Western capital: how are we letting them get away with it? To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.